Jesus said, go ye into all the earth and preach the gospel. I bring a word for you today. Dream big. Do it big. Do it like God. But let it start small. So people want to preach the good news. But if you don't know the good news, then what will you preach? And how do you start with the good news when you haven't even done the bad news? You have to know what the bad news is. All of us claim we're evangelists. If Pastor Chintok should preach from Ephesians chapter 1, we just go and devour the whole of Ephesians in 3 different translations of the Bible. And then we still don't know it the way they taught that one verse. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then we are frustrated. Because that competitive spirit is a killer to our efforts to getting into the spiritual. But what's the bad news? Before I tell you the good news, the gospel, I want to tell you the bad news. Romans says, man, all have sinned and come short of what? The glory of God. Is the bad news. The bad news is we are on the way to the lake of fire. What we popularly call hellfire. And we mistakenly call it hell. Because hell is an entity. It exists. There's an entity called hell. Stand up, darling. This is the enticer. She's the hook. Do you understand me? Stand up, sir. Come, sir. This is the person selling her around. So hold her hand and be introducing her. Come and introduce her to me. Are you following me? If you fall for this hook, there's a poison inside of sin. It's called death. Are you following me? The moment you take this hook and you die, then hold me. I'm now your captive. Hold me, hold me. Then you become imprisoned. The prison is called hell. The apostle selling her is Satan. She that is being sold is sin. The wages of sin is what? Death and imprisonment with hell. This is the state man was in at the fall. This is the default position for every fallen man. You are trapped by hell, a victim of the spells of hell. Do you understand me? A victim of the things they sell. Did you remember what I told you in Dubai? That you become a victim of distractions. That distractions become our worst enemy. The moment you are trying to focus, something is being advertised and it distracts you. Because you are prone to distraction. Prone to wandering. Lord, I know it. He knows it. He's prone to wandering. Prone to leaving the God he loves. Man by nature is always prone to sorry, Lord. Sorry once again. Once more time, sorry. Once, my Father, again, I'm sorry. And then he begins to give up on himself. And then he becomes irredeemable. Because now, a time comes when hell doesn't need to hold you again. Release me. But I'm standing here. Hell, move one step. And you are moving. You are now doing the work for Satan. He wants you to give up on yourself. So you can, because he doesn't have enough angels, Cordelia. He left with a third of the angels that time. We're now more than 7 billion people. So he doesn't have enough demons to allocate to each one of us. So he leaves us with our devices. His devices. That's the bad news. The bad news is because of sin, we have fallen short of God's glory. And we are all headed where? To the lake of fire. Now, that lake of fire is not this hell that is holding us on behalf of Satan and sin and the grave and death. That lake of fire was created by God. Chintok, stand up, sir. He created a lake of fire there. Sarah, stand in front of him. Your colors are like flaming fire. So let us imagine that, stand in front of him. He created you. That's the lake of fire. To this lake of fire, when God sits in judgment, Satan will be thrown in. Sin and death and the grave. Hell will be thrown in. And all of them, that's Ichizo and Hakura. They will weep, wail, and gnash their teeth. Because this lake is designed as the ultimate place of torment. To reveal to you that God's wisdom is greater than that of Satan. Hell is a terrible place. It's the best Satan has to offer. It's his worst punishment to estrange you from God. But when God crafted his lake of fire, hey, and that's where they will burn forever before God, the Lamb, and his saints, we. And their smoke will rise forever. That's the bad news. That's the bad news. You have to know the bad news. That if you don't know Jesus, whatever you have on earth here is the only pleasure you will have. The moment you leave this place, you enter into eternal torments. Now listen to me. God is eternal. His enemies are eternal. The lake of fire is an eternal, perpetual, continuous reality. You cannot preach the eternity of heaven and forget to tell about the continuous, eternal existence of hell. That's not the gospel. You must say it. The lake of fire is an eternal truth. If they throw you there, you will be there for eternity. That means judgment has been passed to you. Now listen to me. How many of you have fallen? If you have fallen, made a mistake, fallen, sinned, fallen. Listen to me. To fall is different from to fail. The righteous falls how many times? But he does what? Every time. But to fail is appointed to man once to die. After that what? What you receive that day is what's called failure or success. So if you are falling here and bouncing back and crying, Daddy, 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 every time, you will not make it to the lake of fire. You will make it to his heaven as long as you receive his forgiveness. Do you understand that? That doesn't mean you are condemned to a life of falling. If you fall once, twice, and you cry Daddy twice, you will know not to fall again.